Well, I wasn't planning on being here again quite so soon. So we're right about 1,100 kilometers or 680-ish miles, and we lost a belt again. The point of failure on this one is actually kind of interesting, and it's actually one that I have ran into before. There was quite a long time ago, back when I had an Arctic Cat quad and actually worked dealer level on them at the time. And the reasoning that we come up with between myself, 3 other service technicians, and the guys in engineering were that it was entirely related to how I use the machine. And I tend to ride the Yamaha the same. I am at full shift all the time. I am running this thing close to its top speed 90% of the time. If we do the math here, my average speed is over 20 miles an hour, and that's not corrected for the oversized tires. For contrast, that's higher than the average speed in my minivan. So both of my Arctic Cat and this Yamaha use a wet clutch before the primary clutch and a constant tension belt system. You'll also find this on Suzuki's, and I believe Kawasaki has put it on some models of the Turks. So unlike the familiar sled style clutch like this, we have a multi-piece setup. So this is our output shaft from this centrifugal wet clutch, which is inside the engine housing. The fixed sleeve slides onto that first. Then there's this spacer sleeve that the movable sheave rides on, and these rollers sit in the housing like so and work against this cam plate, which sits on the outer side of splines on the shaft. So what has happened is we've failed the splines in this fixed sheave. That inner sheave is the least supported part of that entire primary clutch. And at full shift, you have the most amount of force applied to it trying to deflect it from 90 degrees from the shaft, because you have the belts at the outside running on the outside diameter of that clutch, and you have quite a bit more spring pressure on the secondary as it's open as well. So the theory we came up with is, due to the amount of time that I spent at full shift with my machine, which is quite frankly a lot of it, you're getting that small amount of deflection was enough to over time cause wear to the splines and eventually cause the failure. Odds are that wear was already there the last time I had a belt failure, and I just didn't notice it because I forgot to look for it. This machine is both considerably heavier and has a much stiffer secondary spring than my quad did, so that explains the accelerated wear. I had found those worn splines on my bike around the 6,000 mile mark. People have had issues with the secondary on this machine, specifically wear on this spring cup, and quite frankly, there is nothing wrong with this secondary whatsoever, and that spring cup is basically got a few shiny spots and that's it. So to alleviate this problem, we're going with an aftermarket machine shev so that we'll be able to run at the same speeds and not at full shift.